Welcome to the next part of the ultimate guide to book editing. And in this video, we're going to talk about the tried and true editors that everybody works with. That's copy editors and proofreaders. Coming up. What's up, guys? Michael Laurent here with Author Level Up, helping you master the craft of writing. And I make these videos because I believe that each of you has Michael Connolly level talent and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications every time I have a new writing video. And in this writing video, we're talking about the basic editors, the bread and butter editors that everyone works with, that I hope that you're going to be working with. Because we've taken a long, circuitous, scenic route to get to this point. You know, probably people, when they thought I was doing this series, it was going to be, oh, just hire a developmental editor and then copy editors, and my goodness, how many videos have we taken to get here, okay? But now that you're here, if you followed the process, and I'll throw the image up on the screen that we've talked about, at this point, you maybe have gone through an alpha reader, maybe you have gone through fact checking, maybe you have gone through beta reading, and maybe you have gone through a unique type of editing that I call continuity editing, and now you're here at copy editing. Now, what is a copy editor? What do copy editors do? Well, copy editors take a look at the text of your story and make sure that it is grammatically correct, spelling is right, they check for sentence structuring issues, flow issues, that the words on the page are the right words, and they might even catch a plot hole or two. But story is not really their main focus. I mean, most copy editors will comment on the story, but one thing you have to understand is that's not actually why you hire them. They are there to just make sure that what is there is proper and makes sense. And then any story issues that come out of their view of the world, they're going to let you know about it. That's why, because copy editors don't really have that focus on story unless you direct them to do that, that's why I believe that you want those additional buffers of beta readers and maybe even that continuity editor before a book goes to a copy editor, because if your story has issues when it goes to a copy editor from a story perspective or a character perspective, it's probably still going to have those issues when your copy editor is done with it. That's just the way it is. But copy editors are, to me, when I send a book to a copy editor and it comes back, that's when the book starts to feel like a novel, or the book starts to feel like a book. They just do such good work that it feels really good when you're done with it. At least that's that's how it should feel. All right. Now, where do you find a copy editor? That is the million-dollar question, because that's a question I often get. Well, there's a lot of places you can find them. First things first, if you can swing it, it's not always easy, but this is just advice that I've learned over the years. If you can swing it, find a copy editor who edits extensively in your genre, if you can. Big if. But if you can, that is a wonderful way, because an editor that has expertise in your genre is going to be able to give you more specific feedback on maybe what other authors are doing, other self-published authors are doing in your immediate genre, and maybe some tips on what you can do to help resonate with your stories a little bit better. Now, your editor's opinion is one person's opinion, but you know, if you pick the right person, your editor's a partner in the process with you. They're collaborating, and you know, they got no reason to tell you wrong. So, I mean, just try to focus on finding that kind of person if you can. If you can't find that person, then what I would do is I would ask around in your author network. Hey, who have you worked with? You know, who's done a good job for you? Now, preferably your network is going to be someone who writes in your genre, but doesn't always you can't always do that, right? And find out who comes to you highly recommended. That is a wonderful way to find an editor, honestly. If that fails, then sites like Readsy is probably the first place I would go, where you can post a description of what your job is, and then the editors come to you. You can go to a site like Upwork. That's where you can find a lot of editors as well, particularly editors who are starting off, who are trying to build up a client base. You know, a long time ago, I used to say I probably wouldn't hire an editor on Fiverr.com, but you know what? Fiverr has really come a long way in the past few years, and they have a dedicated focus to self-publishing. And so you might even consider seeing who you can find on a website like that. And if that fails, you can also, if you say maybe you find an editor and you're like, do I know about this person? Are they good? Are they not? You can check the Alliance of Independent Authors Service Ratings Directory. The Alliance of Independent Authors is a nonprofit organization for self-published writers, and they publish a directory where they rate the services that their members recommend. And you can check that out to see if the editor's in there. And if the editor has got some issues that people have complained about in the past, you're going to see that, warts and all. If the editor's recommended, then you're going to see that too. If the editor's not in there, then you can recommend that the editor be checked out. I mean, just check it out. It's free. You got nothing to lose. And if you would like to join the Alliance of Independent Authors, nonprofit for self-published writers, how cool is that? Join via my affiliate link at authorlevelup.com/ally. I'll put that on the screen. That is ally with an I. Now, when you are screening for a copy editor, you just treat it like this. You are hiring someone to work for you. All right, don't just take in anybody off the street, okay? Another thing, here's my opinion. And this is Michael Laron's opinion. This is maybe an unpopular opinion because a lot of authors do this and I don't understand why they do it. If you are a new writer, meaning this is your first book, and you've never worked with an editor before, don't hire an editor who has never edited a book before. It's like babies training babies. I mean, you're not going to get anything out of that experience, right? You want someone who's been doing this for at least a few years, so you can at least get a sense of what it's like to work with an editor, and then maybe later in your career you can take a chance on someone. But I talk to so many writers who say, well, I'll just take a chance on this person who's just starting off, but if you don't know what the customs are, the conventions are, you don't want someone who's not been doing this for a while. So, my minimum requirement is at least 3 years. Your minimum requirement may be different than mine, but just pick someone first and foremost who's been doing this for a while. Next thing is the question of sample edits. Okay. Now, again, this is Michael Laron's opinion. This is probably going to be an unpopular opinion. I've had editors in the past who've watched my videos and say, hey, Michael, I don't agree with you on that. That's okay. It's my opinion. All right. So sample edits. Okay. I do not recommend that you hire an editor without getting sample edits first. All right. Now, what a sample edit is your editor, you basically send a few pages, not a lot, but a few pages to your editor for free. They will review it, go through it, make edits and comments so that you can get a sense of their editorial style and they can get a sense of your writing style, because sometimes you're not always both a good fit. All right. And editors typically offer that as a courtesy, as a way to get to know you and your work. Now, there are some editors out there who will not do sample edits. I will not hire those editors. And the reason for that is because how do you know what their service is? How do you know what the quality of their edits are? I mean, you don't know. Now there are some editors out there who will do a sample edit, but they'll charge you for it. So they'll say, I'll charge you $20 or $30 for a sample edit. If you decide to go with me, then I'll just subtract that from the cost of your project. And I think that's okay. That makes perfect sense, because if you don't pick that person, at least they got something for their time. I'm good with that. I just am not a fan, and I'm not an advocate at all for not doing any kind of sample edit or understanding who the editor is, because editors, God bless editors, but this is an area where authors frequently get scammed. And so if you want to make sure you don't get scammed, get a sample edit first and get a sense of that person's ability. Now, how much should you pay for a copy editor? Well, it's going to depend on a lot of different factors. I mean, it's going to depend on the length of your book. It's going to depend on how messy your writing is. Because if the editor looks at your manuscript and they see lots of errors and lots of basic spelling and grammar errors, it's going to take them longer to get through the manuscript, and they're going to charge you more. But if your manuscript is cleaner, it's probably going to take them less. And so it also depends. I mean, it depends on some factors in terms of where does the editor live? How far along are they in their career? How established are they? How many clients do they have? But typically speaking, for a 50,000 word book, you're probably going to pay anywhere between $200 to $400, plus or minus. It just depends on, like I said, the different factors out there, the editor's expertise, their experience, and so on. Now, what are my tips for working with a copy editor? Well, first and foremost, make the novel as clean as you can. So try to eliminate as many typos and spelling errors as you can, especially the ones that you tend to make over and over again. It's just really not a good use of the editor's time to constantly be cleaning up the same mistakes. And if you can find a way to nip a lot of those in the bud ahead of time, you'll find that your editor gives you a higher quality of edits as well. Also, if you know what your weaknesses are, let your editor know what those weaknesses are. If you happen to repeat words or minor characters as your Achilles heel, or, your dialogue always just feels flat, or that's what readers have told you in the past, then let the editor know that so that they can look at those issues while they're editing your book. Because why not use another set of eyes just to gut check you? Because maybe you don't have an issue at all, and maybe that's just something that's in your head. Why not use another set of eyes to help you catch areas where you think you're weak? Now let's talk about proofreaders. So proofreaders essentially check your copy editor's work in addition to some other unique things. So proofreaders are going to go through and catch any last-minute typos, any last-minute errors. They're not really going to be looking at the story very much unless something is just glaringly obvious. It's very rare to hear any kind of story edits from your proofreader. And your proofreader is also going to be checking formatting. They're going to be checking consistency globally. So for example, I recently used the term menage a trois, right? And I used it about 4 times throughout the novel. It was a running joke between one of the characters and one of his friends. I know you guys are probably thinking, what the heck is in this book? No, it's just a running joke, all right? So I used the word, but I got the accents wrong. So like 2 times I did it one way, 1 time I did it another way, and then a 4th time I did it another way. So a proofreader would be able to check your hyphenation and make sure that it's consistent across your entire manuscript. Now, a copy editor will do that as well, but sometimes they don't always catch those issues. And then a proofreader is also just going to check for formatting issues as well. So making sure that there's nothing that's going to look bad in an ebook, or if you know that you're going to be formatting your paperback in Microsoft Word, or if for paperback, that's probably something where you do want to hire a proofreader, because they can help catch a lot of those invisible errors. Now, where do you find a proofreader? Well, you find them in the same place that you would find a copy editor, and ideally your copy editor and your proofreader are not going to be the same person. You want different sets of eyes on your manuscript. How much do you pay a proofreader? I've always been of the opinion that I typically don't like to pay my proofreaders as much as my copy editors, because they're not doing the same level of work. They're still doing a lot of work in the manuscript, but they're not doing the same level of work as a copy editor. So, it kind of depends. General rule of thumb for me, I know some people will differ on this, but if you're going to pay $200 to $400 for a copy editor, maybe you're going to pay $100 to $300 for a proofreader. All right, those numbers are not set in stone, but you can always find someone who fits in whatever budget that you have. So your book goes to a copy editor, comes back, feels like a book. Then it goes to a proofreader, comes back, and you are ready for the races. At this point, you are at the end of the road, and your novel has reached maturity. It's reached old age. Now, at this point, if you wanted to, you could run Microsoft Word spell checker again, just to catch any issues that maybe were left over from introducing track changes and all that, because that happens all the time. You could also run Grammarly or ProWriting 8 again. But at this point, if you followed all the steps, you should have a novel that you feel proud of, and you should have a novel that presents well to your readers. So, are we done yet? No, we're not done, but this is the end of the road. But I wanted to talk next about a few different apps that you can use that will also help you get the most out of your self-editing. Coming right up.